Hello everyone, and welcome back to our bonus session today, Q&As, which we are offering especially for you guys because of our workshop, and we've received loads of questions from you. So we've created this bonus session especially for you. We have really very interesting questions which we'll cover today. So welcome back everyone, and we're very happy and excited to have you here with us today. So for the next hour we can serve you, support you, and uplift you on your journey towards building a stronger business and taking your business to the next level. Now I'm going to pass on to Nick, who will give a little bit of recap from yesterday's session.
Thank you, Alex, and welcome everyone. If you're watching on Facebook, give us a quick hello. If you are on Facebook, I'm not sure whether we are streaming on Facebook right now. It doesn't seem that we are live on Facebook. We might be on YouTube, but not on Facebook. Anyway, we will carry on. So you had 5 days of us talking at you, and you engaged with us. That was fantastic. Thank you very much for the engagement that we had and the feedback that we had. We know that those information that we passed on to you were valuable information, and they will help you whether you choose to join the program or not. It will still be something that you take away with you and improve your life. Yesterday we talked about the 6 steps of effortless selling, and as part of that, obviously within the boundaries of us having some technical issues, etc., we managed to pass on those 6 steps to you. Now, the steps that we have in effortless selling, we talked about the attention grabbing, where we talk about the focus that you need to give before you approach a prospect, and how you grab their attention, and the tools that we use to grab the attention of your prospect. Creating the interest, absolutely key, where you ask the right questions and you explore what's going to be valuable for the product or service that you're going to provide to your prospect. The creation of desire comes next, where you actually build that momentum and making sure that your prospect, whatever you're selling, product or service, has come emotionally connected with what you're trying to provide to them, in order for them to then actually feel that they need it. And eventually, when you talk about taking action, when we say, this is the time where you close, and I think I added a little bit to that and say, any sales pitch that you're going to produce from this point on, try as much as you can to perhaps have a little bit of a trial, gauging whether the prospect is within range of either accepting the idea that you're providing to them in buying your product or not. So that trial close is so important in trying to actually engage with the next step, which is the action, and ask for the business. Now, asking for the business, if you don't ask for the business, like I said yesterday, forget it, you're not in sale. You've got to be asking for the business. And then obviously what comes in the next 2 steps is actually the result, and also the service that you're going to give to your prospect after you've made the sale. Your prospect, and which now becomes your client, needs to have the reassurance that you're there to help them through the after sales part, which means that the number of things can happen after that. So when you do those 2 steps right, what happens is you get the prospect connects with you, or your client connects with you, and obviously this then becomes word of mouth referral, repeat business as well. And then we obviously talked about the program that we're running, and how this is going to benefit you. We'll talk more about that today in the other session that we're going to have at 3 o'clock. So stay tuned. Questions that we have quite a few questions we've received, and obviously we will go through them and hope again that we can answer all of this appropriately and accurately. And if we haven't, keep pushing those questions to us, and we'll endeavor to respond to you over the coming days. Okay. Over to you, Alex.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nick. And we are back to our Q&A session. So just a quick announcement. We're not showing on Facebook at the moment again, which is probably some technical issues with Facebook. So we are streaming on YouTube and LinkedIn. So hopefully you can guys join us, okay? And do also participate. So if you're watching us on YouTube, just participate in the chat box, leave a comment under the video, and here we go with our questions. So the first question we've received, quite a few questions and we've put them all together. So if they were repeated, we've just taken one question, obviously, okay? So the question that repeated the most was, how do I overcome failure? So it's a very good question, something that I'm sure many of us are dealing with, trying to cope with, understand. Sometimes in many instances, maybe that failure, the fear from failure is stopping most people from going further, from really pushing through that. And this is what paralyzes your behavior, your action, and at the same time sabotages your success. So first of all, how do I overcome failure? Well, we have to understand what failure is, and we really have to understand through studies about yourself and about the science behind your success that failure is a part of your success. There is no success, any success that I have personally experienced, read about, learn about. There's no success without a temporary failure. Even Napoleon Hill in the book Think and Grow Rich says there's no success without a temporary defeat. So you have to be ready for it. And when you're ready for it, when you learn and understand what failure is, then you will cope with it. You will embrace it. So failure, there's no such a thing as failure. Failure is actually not as negative as we were programmed to believe. And through our educational system, from the moment you entered the school, from a very young child through your high school and higher education system, we have been programmed, unfortunately, that when you fail your exam, this is really bad. You basically you failed, you're not good enough, you don't have enough knowledge, and in many cases you can't proceed with your education. So we have been programmed that failure is bad and we are afraid of it. So we do everything to pass that exam. If we pass it, well done, I'm great. If I failed, I'm not good enough, this is not for me, and it's not working, so I better switch. This is something that has literally paralyzed some of my adult life, because as you may know, for those of you who have followed me for some time, I have tried so many different things in life because I had that inner belief that there is something more out there. So I was trying, I used to change jobs every 2-3 years, looking for that, fulfillment. And I've also done different courses on the way. And what also happened in my life is when I started something and I wasn't good at it straight away, I made myself believe that it was not meant for me. Because of my temporary failure back then, I actually gave up on my journey. And that was that was disastrous, because it was destroying on that journey towards that success. And as you read about failure and as you read about successful people, you will know that there is no single person on this planet who have achieved a huge success without failing at some point. So I have my own personal stories. And I want to give you a few stories of famous people like Michael Jordan, who missed more than 9,000 shots, lost almost 300 games, and that was done. And he failed 26 times in a big way. If he let that failure to stop him, you would never have heard about who Michael Jordan is, but we all know who he is, because he knew that temporary failure was not showing who he really is. He just kept pushing, and he knew that there is just lessons, and there's no such a thing as failure. Failure is not disastrous. Another person who I do really like is Edison. Edison, who is inventor, he made 1,000 unsuccessful attempts at inventing the light bulb. Again, when he was asked, how do you feel about failing 1,000 times? He just said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. I just found out there's 1,000 ways why this is not working. So this is something for you guys to shift your perception about what failure is. If you go towards your goal, towards your dream, and you fail here and there, maybe you've lost some money, maybe you borrowed some money because you thought, I'm going to borrow this money to invest in that business. Maybe you really got yourself in a debt. Maybe you've tried and invested in something and you've lost that money. This is just temporary defeat. You cannot allow this to cripple you. You cannot allow this to stop you, because there's so much more behind that failure. Another person that I'm just going to give you a quick example is Albert Einstein, who didn't speak until the age of 4, who then at the age of 16 failed to pass the exam for entrance into the Swiss Federal Polytechnic School in Zurich, and who then as a student struggled massively. He almost dropped out, and he was doing very poorly at school. And then after, when he graduated, he had no idea what he wanted to do with his life. So he has become a salesman and worked for an insurance company for a couple of years. We are talking about one of the most genius mind in history. Would you consider yourself as a failure just because you perhaps at some point in your past failed a few times? So I really want you guys to shift that thinking. Think about failure as a part of your success. Learn from it, course correct, and keep moving forward. Nick, would you like to add anything about this?
Well, I think the most current of instances where we talk about failures, if you think about the Euros just been and gone, and England was in the final, and did you know that the person who led that team, the manager of the football team, Gareth Southgate, missed a penalty in Euro 1996 in the semi-final, and his resilience meant this failure didn't stop him. He then took the England team to the final. And if you take the example of what happened to Rashford, for example, great player. If you put him on the pitch and ask him to take 100 penalties, he will probably score about 95 of them. It was unfortunate that he missed the penalty in the final. However, I don't think for 1 minute that Rashford is going to give up.
Absolutely. So this is how it works, guys. So there you go. Your personal success depends on your perception when it comes to failure. You either will allow it to destroy you and stop you, or you will just keep going knowing that you're only learning lessons. Okay, next question.
Right, yes. So the next question I've got, why do people say no when it comes to sales, to selling? Well, this is a really interesting question, because it encompasses a lot of things, theory and practical side. So if we apply and look at the theory that we've learned over the last 5 days, we will know that people say no because of their paradigm. So their paradigm is not at a level, and obviously, if you as a salesperson trying to sell something to someone and they're not resonating, obviously they say no. There's also the part of the 6 steps. If you haven't followed the 6 steps properly in trying to sell your product or services, obviously what will happen is the person at the other end will probably and more likely say no to you when you ask the critical question, i.e. when you ask the closed question of whether they want to invest money in your product or services. So that pitch is very important to get it right. Now, there is a bit more to that when it comes to trying to make a sale and you get the rejection, you get the no's. And it's about what I talked about yesterday about the trial close. So when you're doing your presentation, your sales pitch, and you just about to take the action, you're building your desire to just about to take the action, having a trial, having a gauge whether someone is resonating and they're ready to invest is so important. Like I said yesterday, When I was doing sales, most of the time I would have done that trial close over and over and making sure that I'm almost there. And when it was time for me to ask the key question, it was very simple and very easy. And 9 times out of 10, I'll get people saying yes to me. But there's another part to that, which I've learned over the years, that when you study why people say no, is because when we're born and we grow up and we're toddlers, what do we hear a lot of? We hear the word as a child, you hear no a lot because your parents will continuously say no to you, don't do this, don't do that, don't take this, don't do that, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that. And that is typical of how we as individuals, as children, we grew up with that area. And when you ask any question, the first response, i.e. the, if you like, the reflex response is no. But when it comes to sales, when you're doing the sales pitch, it's so important that you get all the steps right. And when you do the trial close, you've covered that. So you've taken that part of the reflex action of, in people's paradigm, of saying no, because you've already dealt with that by doing the trial close. And therefore, when you ask the key question, the answer is 9 times out of 10, yes.
Beautiful.
You want to add anything to that?
Beautiful, and I totally agree, and on everything you've said. And what I could add from my experience currently in sales, rather than to what I had experienced 10 years ago, is just like you said, to my experience, a confused mind always says no. So if I didn't spend enough time to connect with the person I speak with, if I didn't spend enough time to truly understand what their needs are, and years ago, that's where my gap was. I love the product, I love the service, and I was trying to convince them that it's going to be good for you because, and I was trying to impose my own beliefs about the product or a service onto my prospect. But we have to understand that what I think about the product or a service, it doesn't mean that the prospect is going to think the same. So instead of trying to me and convince them from my own point of view and perspective, I just need to start asking those questions and understand where they come in and how they will find it useful. So this is the time, as you may remember from yesterday, guys, that interest, step number 2 and 3, interest and desire, is where you spend the most time to connect with your prospect and really truly be interested in their own situation. Because if you're not, you don't even know if it's good for them, and your own beliefs are not always correct. They will be seeing at it from their own perspective. And when you clarify that for them, just like Nick said, then they will believe that they really want it, or they really need what you have because you have connected with them. So just to make sure, am I understanding your needs right? Is this correct? And you get more yeses. So when you get more yeses, you then are on that nice flow of understanding. Because for me, what I have learned is, I may guess what they need, but only through the questions I will actually understand. And sometimes when I speak to people, I just want to make sure, is that what you need? So I sometimes repeat what they say. Is that what you mean? Is this what you need? And I just want to hear if I'm correct, because, we only perceive certain situations and we cannot second guess. So the step number 2 and 3 is really important. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Nick. So next question we've received is, when do I need persistence and when should I rather look for the door? So that was the question right after our story about the fly that was stuck indoors, something we may see on a daily, well, not on a daily basis, but from time to time in our own house or flat, where that fly is literally banging against the window, trying to get out, trying to push hard through that window. The window is closed, but behind that fly, the door is wide open. There is an exit, so it could just fly through it freely without that frustration and hard work. So when do I actually need persistence, and when should I rather look for that door? So from my own experience and what I've learned from Bob Proctor is that persistent, not only just Bob Proctor, but even Napoleon Hill and many other great minds in history who talk about the subject, is that persistence is a part of your journey. So you need to be persistent towards your goal. You need to have that clarity and vision where you're going, and you have to have that definiteness of your goal, and you have to be persistent on that. Even if you meet that temporary failure, you can't give up. You can't just stop and say, well, this is not working for me, I'm not going to do this for now. So persistence towards your goal is needed on a daily basis. Now, when it comes to looking for another door, looking for another option, is where you are working with some sort of strategy, so some sort of action on a daily basis, and after a while you see this is not giving you the results you had expected. Then you observe it and you course correct by thinking and being creative with another approach. Now, this might be a little bit more complicated if you're brand new to it, because what really works well for me is my own intuition. My intuition tells me if this is working or not, and your intuition will tell you if you are on the right track or not. So this is something that intuition is our higher mental faculty, as you may remember from our workshop last week, and that higher mental faculty is your inner guiding system. So the more you pay attention to it, the more you will be in flow. If you ignore it, then this is where confusion comes in, and second guess, am I on the right track? Is it persistence, lack of persistence, should I change it? It's because you're not working with your inner guiding system. How do you do it? It literally takes knowledge, understanding, and practice. That's it, an application. So the persistence is definitely needed, once again, for your mindset work. So you have to do the work, your visualization and your thinking. Not many people are willing to think. The real thinking is creating and connecting with the energy that gives you ideas. That's the mental work that we have to be very persistent with every single day. And then the course correction, which is looking for another door, is literally, once again, observe. Ask yourself, am I going to the right direction? Am I getting the desired results or not? If it's nothing happening or not good enough, ask yourself, should I now change the approach? And your intuition will give you the answer. That's how it works for me. Nick, would you like to add anything on?
Yeah, I think a couple of things really. I mean, if you look at persistence from two different angles, if you look at persistence from a probably personal angle, again, I'll take the example of children. When they grow up, they persist in certain activities, like if they want to walk, or if they want to do something, you can see that they're persistent. They want to do whatever they want to do, and as adults we either help them or we don't, but they persist, right? And in your professional life, there's another aspect to this. So in professional life, if you're working on a project, for example, and the project, there's a failure, something fails, as being accountable to your employer, you then persist. You then find different ways of doing it, and then the end result is that you succeed in the project. But as individual, on a personal level, human being tends to, and I'm not saying all, but a fair proportion of individuals, and on a personal level, tend to give up. They don't persist. Why? Because they're not using their higher mental faculties of intuition and perhaps will, to some degree, to actually achieve what they want to achieve. And that's a bit sad. But on a different note, having a coach, having someone there to assist, almost like the adult assisting the child, is the way to get to where you need to get to. If you lack a bit of persistence, if you lack that intuitive factor within you, then it's good to have someone to coach you through that process and get to the other side. And perhaps the door is actually the window, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely, 100% agreed, especially when you said about having a coach or a mentor, because this is exactly where, if we're trying to solve things for ourselves, by ourselves, we can get confused because we are using our current logic. And we have to remember that our current logic took you to where we are now, right? And that, just like Einstein used to say, that if you keep doing the same things over and over again, trying to create different results, it's a definition of insanity. So you have to have a different approach. And sometimes, because of our subconscious programming, which we are not aware of unless you study yourself and your mind, you may not see that you're sabotaging your success. So somebody who knows the topic comes from the outside, they'll ask you a few questions, they'll see what you're doing, and they can spot what's holding you back. And that's exactly what happened to me 5.5 years ago when I was working with Bob Proctor, and I was telling him, where I think I'm not succeeding. He literally spotted it straight away. He said to me, well, this is how you, because of what you say, this is where your beliefs are coming from. And even though I was like, no, this is the situation, he's like, no, these are your beliefs coming in, sabotaging your success. So that's very interesting when somebody else can actually help you to spot it. Beautiful. All right, we've got another question, Nick.
Yeah, this one I think is a very simple one to answer, and I think it just requires a little bit of thinking about. So, why do people don't commit? So people want to think about it when it comes to buying your product. How do we handle this? Well, I think generally we are a race of consumers, and we like to buy it when we want to buy it rather than being sold to. So people generally don't like being sold to, and that's a fact. And that's why people don't necessarily commit when it comes to you making a sales pitch and you trying to close. But I'll go back to the 6 steps, because this is very important, and I think that's where most of perhaps the failures happen, is where you haven't done the first 3 steps properly. In other words, you haven't covered or uncovered all the stones when you are delivering your pitch. And that's when people, either they don't commit and they say, well, I have to think about it. And sometimes, like I said yesterday, you have to understand that if there's a big purchase here, for example, if someone's buying a house, you can't buy a house in one sales pitch. It doesn't happen. It takes a while. But it's that nurturing of that process that gets the sales made, and people then invest their money into whichever product you're trying to sell. However, people don't want to commit because they've got A, the paradigm, and B, because our sales pitch is not fine-tuned enough and it's not been level with their emotion.
Beautiful.
Anything you want to add, Alex?
I think the only thing that comes to my mind from my own experience is that people don't commit because they also are not a quick decision maker. So this is something that we grew up with. Again, another paradigm, another belief, because as a child, it all comes down to our childhood. But let's not blame our parents here, okay? Because I've had a few clients in the past who were going through this lesson, because we actually discussed this lesson in depth in our mentorship program, where all your beliefs come from, where all your habits come from, where your self-image was formed, and it all comes down to our childhood, literally the first 5-6 years of our life. And then I have had few clients who just got stuck in that blame moment, and they were saying, well, this and that. And I said, no, this is to give you the information rather than beat somebody with a stick, because once again, even in our life, we do everything we can based on our awareness at that time. Your parents, they loved you greatly and they did everything they could based on their awareness at the time. And unfortunately, this information that we teach here with you and share with you is not taught at school. So there's only about 5% of population who's actually aware of this information, okay? So if you are here with us, you can then break that pattern of passing this limiting beliefs generation by generation, because that's how it's passed on, right? So once again, it's all about awareness. So we got that belief from a young child that, there is lots of decision being made for us. A child, is very curious at the age of 2. Some of you may know this. I have a toddler right now at the age of 2, super curious. And what do? We overprotect them. We say no, we make decisions for them. Not only then, it starts from then, and then it continues. They want to do something and we say, why would you want to do it? This is better for you. So they know what they want, but because we believe we know better for them, we try to direct them. And what we do, actually, we take away from them that confidence in making those decisions, because when a child is born, they have this amazing, incredible mind. This is another topic. I'm not going to go into this too much, because it's such a close topic to my heart, especially in my current situation. And to all of you who have young children, we are literally not knowing, taken away from them, because children are naturally curious. They're naturally born with 99% of the potential of a genius. They are decision makers. They're very independent. If you watch your children at the young age, they're very independent. They know what they want, and they will get there. They'll find a way to get there. But we, because we first of all overprotecting, we think we protect them, but we actually are telling them what to do. So with time, we make them believe that whatever they think is not ever correct. So then they grow up thinking, well, whatever I want to do, I need to reassurance. I need to be reassured from somebody else. I need to get that reassurance from my parents because of that programming. So then later on in our adult life, we have this. Remember, guys, that your self-image has been formed by the age of 4 or 5. So whatever you were surrounded with, this is where your self-image was formed. So if you were surrounded by criticism, or maybe you were not allowed to do the things you really wanted to do as a child, you then think that you don't know enough, or perhaps you then believe that you are not a good decision maker. So what do you do as an adult? You are not making those decisions. You are afraid of making any decision. You live in that safety net. You think, and you were also programmed to believe it's better to be safe than sorry. So when it comes to your decision, you are afraid from that step because you're not a quick decision maker. So that's why what I believe is stopping us from going after this. Part of it is also the fear from failure and so on. And part of it also is from not knowing what we want, because when I signed up to become a coach by Bob Proctor, before I called Bob Proctor Institute, I knew I wanted to be with Bob Proctor. I already made my decision because I was frustrated with my lack of my results, and I was frustrated that I knew so much, but the results were not showing. So even the person who I spoke to then, they were not really nice to me on the phone because they were very pushy, and old Alex would say no to that person because I don't like that, and I think nobody likes it. But because I had made my decision before that phone call, I went into this regardless who I spoke to, because I had made my decision, because I knew what I wanted. And many people, unfortunately, they don't know what they want. They don't have that clarity. They don't have that definiteness of their goal. And that is what's holding them back.
Definitely.
Beautiful. So we have another question from our audience. And is there a difference between a dream and a goal? So I believe there is a huge difference between a dream and a goal. And this is, again, something I've observed in my own situation. Before I got into thinking into results 6 years ago, I used to study this topic a lot. I was passionate about it. I just wanted to find out more. And for about 6-7 years, I studied it. I followed many people. I've read many books, attended seminars, and I had that dream of mine. I had a dream. I knew what I wanted, but for 7-8 years, that only has been my dream, because I didn't understand it back then. But now I understand, because that dream only stayed in my mind. I was doing my day-to-day activities. I was fully employed, and I had that dream, and I said to myself, one day it will happen. There's going to be one day, the right time will come, the right time when I will wake up and I'll know that something is about to happen. And I was waiting and waiting and waiting. 7-8 years later, nothing happened. And now I understood that it was just a dream. It was just a dream, because the dream stays in your mind. Nothing happens to this dream. And there are loads of people who are dreamers, but being a dreamer and a goal achiever are two different things. If you are a dreamer, you will stay a dreamer. Nothing will change in your physical world. But in order for that dream to make it a goal, you need to take that dream from your mind and act on it. You need to act towards it. Every single day you have to do something physically to act towards it. This is when that dream becomes a goal, and goal is something you work towards. And then when you work towards something, it becomes your reality. So I think a question for you guys is here: are you a dreamer or are you a goal seeker? Are you an action taker? If you have a dream, do you act on it, or do you just dream about it and you think one day it will happen? Because one day may never come. And this is my own experience, not only my own experience, but people I worked with. And we want to give you really the shortcut to success. Which one are you guys? Would you like to add anything about this question?
Yeah, well, not really. Only to say that, you know, it is a part of our paradigm to think that dreams never becomes a reality. You know, when you know, anyone, you know, you grow up as well, you know, the initial reaction if someone says something that's really big, that sure, you must be living in a dream.
Yeah,
Well, it's always negative. It's that negative connotation around what's a dream, and what could a dream cannot become reality. Whereas, you know, what you said is absolutely spot on. It's that it's a dream. You convert that, you internalize that dream, you work towards that dream, and becomes a goal. Absolutely spot on.
Excellent. We have another question, I believe.
Yeah. Right, so I've got here, how do I stop, or how and when do I stop worrying about money? Do you want to take that one, Alex? I think
Okay.
probably.
So from my experience, and again, it's probably the last 6 years only. Well, maybe actually I can go further than that. Couple of things I definitely learned. Well, first of all, we really cannot allow money to stop us from doing anything, because if we are making a decision and we allow the current financial situation to stop us, we are literally doing it wrong. And I know this could be something confusing for some people, because you may think, well, I don't have the money, how am I supposed to do it, right? But I really want you guys, once again, to be open-minded and think about your life. Look around your house. How much stuff have you got in your house or your flat? Do you really need this stuff? You have this because you really want it. It's not about if you need it, but you have it because you want it. And it's the same when it comes to our dreams or goals. If I know I really want something because I'm emotionally connected with that, I will find the way. And that's how it is. If you really wanted something in your life, really wanted it, maybe it's that trip and you think that, oh, you deserve it and you've been waiting for it for so long. Maybe you don't have that money, but you will still find a way to pay for it. Maybe it's the car, maybe it's some other luxurious experience or things that you really wanted it. And even though you may not have the budget for it, because you really wanted it, you found the money. So this is the truth, this is reality, and we often live in a denial that I'm not going to do something because I don't have the money. The truth is, and I can say this because I've been there, is when you really want something and you act towards it, and you don't spend much time worrying and thinking that lack of money, when you enter into this thinking you'll find a way and you only focus about how to find a way, your mind is so powerful that will give you ideas how to make it happen. That's how it works. It's either one or another. Either you spend your time thinking how you can't afford it and how you live in lack of finance. Whatever you pay attention to expands. So if you spend the time worrying about money, that's what you're going to get more of. However, if you spend the time thinking how I can make it happen, that's what you will come up with. And I have endless amount of stories, not only from my own life, but also my clients' life. When they really wanted something, they found a way. They found a way in the most ridiculous way. Sometimes it was simple, sometimes it was more complicated, but they found the way to make it happen. So once again, I would say, do not let the money stop you, and don't allow yourself to worry about money, because that's the energy you're operating from. And whatever you're operating from is the law of attraction with the law of vibration. Whatever you think about, whatever you feel about, you attract more of. So if you think about lack of money, the law of attraction says, hey, your wish is my command. You have lack of money, that's what you receive. So it's very powerful. And this is something that we have to shift our perception with, because sometimes this idea is being rejected straight away by so many people, because they will still say, but I really don't have enough money, but I really, and they're stuck in that vicious circle. I was there 6 years ago. I didn't have the money. I had nothing on my account. For a decade, I was living month to month to month. And that was my belief system that was keeping me there. But the moment when I said to myself, I don't know how, but I'm going to make it happen, things started to unfold. And I had experienced the most amazing and incredible things afterwards. What is your experience, Nick, on that?
Yeah, I mean, what I was saying, I think it was a session yesterday or the day before. I can't remember exactly when it was, but I was saying we have a dream, we have a goal, we want to do some certain things, we want to acquire certain things, and all of a sudden we are concerned about ways of us not achieving it, as opposed to how am I going to do it. So you want to be, for example, a millionaire, and a lot of people have done it before, where you'll say, well, yeah, I want to be a millionaire, and then suddenly 3 minutes, 4 minutes later, you start thinking about all the ways that, all the excuses for not being there. Well, I can't because of this, because of that, and suddenly you get into that again, like you said, vicious circle where you just get entangled yourself into, and you never get out of it, and it becomes a dream that will never be a reality.
Very true. Absolutely very true. Thank you. And I believe we have a couple more questions. I don't think we've gone through how do you overcome fear from rejection.
No, we've done failure, but we haven't done fear. How do you overcome fear from rejection? Question.
So we have another question. How do you overcome fear from rejection? Which I believe is a very good question, and many people probably get paralyzed because of fear from rejection. And I know I used to be 10 years ago, especially working in a mortgage consultant role, where I was always petrified to pick up that phone, because I somehow had such a fear from that no, that I just would come up with all sorts of excuses why I shouldn't pick up that phone. And it was always the morning was too early because I may interrupt somebody's having breakfast. The lunchtime was, lunchtime. So how could I interrupt someone having lunch? And my all day would pass by like this because of my thinking, fear from rejection. I just didn't want to hear that no. So first of all, how do you can overcome that fear from rejection? Well, first of all, is you have to be aware that, being afraid to do something that you're not comfortable with, it's a natural process of your growth. If you haven't done something X amount of times, it's very natural that you will be afraid of it. Doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's being on the phone, or it's speaking in public, or it's speaking to your boss, anything. If you have not done something long enough and often enough, you will be scared because you're just getting out of your comfort zone. And I remember, maybe you would not believe, but when I started my business 5-6 years ago, I was petrified from talking to more than 3 people, even 2-3 people. If they were sat in front of me, I would literally choke. I still remember as if it was yesterday, my very first live event. I had 6 people that came to my event, and I left the room to get some water for them, because my mind would be like anything just to get away from that audience. And I'm like, does anyone want a drink? So I left the room, and I was thinking, oh my God, I just don't want to be back. I don't want to be back. I don't want to go and do my presentation. I was so petrified because it was my first presentation, and I was literally scared from not only rejection, but the public speak, because I don't know, people, how they think about it, how do you sound, how do you come across, all these fears in my head literally were paralyzing me. But because I had no other choice, I had to be back, but on the phone, you don't pick up the phone, and that's how you go through the day. And I remember learning then that when you know and understand that fear, something you may remember from our workshop last week. If you don't, please go back to replays. Replays will be available until Tuesday midnight. So remember that fear that you're experiencing is a natural part of your growth. If you are not feeling scared from doing something, it means you've done it so well. And it also means that you're not growing, you're just going sideways. Sideways, guys. So if you're applying for another job and you're not scared, it means you're not growing. You're just going to a different company doing the same job. And the reason you're leaving your company, maybe you're leaving it because you're bored, or maybe you're leaving because you don't feel fulfilled enough or happy enough. But in that new company, you'll feel the same a year later or 2 years later, because you're not experiencing that growth. So if you're not experiencing fear, it's you're not growing. And if you're not growing, give it a year or two, and you're gonna feel that dissatisfaction, that something is not quite right, because you are a spiritual being, and a part of your spiritual being is that it always has a need to expand and express yourself. So if you don't expand yourself every single day, if you don't grow, if you don't experience, then you'll feel lack of self-satisfaction, you'll feel unhappy, you'll have no purpose. Therefore, you will be dissatisfied most of the time. That's where it all comes from. It's all connected. But this is something we teach in our master mentorship program. So again, I could talk about it for hours. But in order to answer your question, you have to face the thing you fear. When you face the thing you fear, it will leave you. That's how it works. And you can only face the thing you fear through understanding. First of all, fear. Where does fear come from? Fear comes from ignorance. You do not understand what fear is. The moment when you understand that fear is a part of your growth, and you are here on this planet to grow, to become the best version of yourself, to become who you were meant to be, where you were born, to express yourself. You and each one of you has the need inside of you to express yourself. And you can do it through coaching, through teaching, through music, through art, through anything you desire, but it's there with you, within you. You have that need to express yourself, and until you do it, you'll feel that something is missing. What's missing is exactly that. So in order for you to do it, you have to be growing constantly, which means you have to experience that fear. So understanding what fear is will help you to overcome it, and understanding that fear comes from worry and doubt will also help you to understand that the more you entertain that fear and doubt in your conscious mind, the more you entertain it, which means the more you think about it, it gets internalized into your subconscious mind. Once it's internalized into your subconscious mind, it's fear, it turns into fear. So worry and doubt turns into fear, and fear, because it's emotional, paralyzes your behavior, so almost exclusively controls your behavior. So for those of you who are picking up that phone and you don't understand that fear is ignorance, you will allow that fear to control your life, to control your results, to control your sales, and you will never ever push through that fear, so then you can grow and take your business to the next level. Anything else you would like to add, Nick?
Yeah, no, I think just two things really. The first one is we looked at that growth chart, and fear zone is actually one of the zones that you have to pass through in order to get to your growth zone. So it's a natural thing to have, and as long as we embrace that and say, yeah, I've got to go through this, so I'm going to have to persist. Again, the persistent part comes in. Persist, because I need to get to the other side. So you will do that. There's also this bit about when it comes to making sales, you go through that fear of rejection. There's only one thing that's very, very important, and I kind of got that when I was doing sales. Nobody taught me this. I just was doing some maths. Sales and numbers game is a mind game, but also is a numbers game. So when you think about it in that way, and that's how I was thinking about it. So I was making my phone calls and I was getting the sales. So I was saying to myself, right, okay, so out of 10 phone calls, I'll get, let's say, 2 sales to start with. And all I was thinking of, I was focusing on that 2. Instead of focusing on the 8 that is going to say no. So I'm expecting it to happen Once you expect something to happen, you embrace it because you know it's going to happen. You don't invite it, but you know it's going to happen. So what I was doing is that every day I was going to work, I was thinking about, right, okay, I made 2 today. I wonder what it would take for me to make 4 and to make 6 instead out of 10 rather than just the 2. So I was obviously getting better at it because my ability to do it, if you like. So I was persistent. I was getting there slowly and slowly. And what I was doing is I wasn't focusing on the no's. I knew the no will come because it's natural. All I was doing is getting better now, converting those no's into yeses. And it was almost fun because I was playing with objections. I was playing with all those type of things, responses that was coming out of my head, and I was responding spontaneously because I was thinking, well, that's the only way I'm going to get there, because people say no to me. People say no in different ways. You've got to find the balance in terms of how you respond to them, and not react. You respond, and through your response, you then make the sale. So yeah, I wanted to just share that with you because I think it's important to understand that it is a numbers game. So when you come across the no, having that fear, well, first of all, you shouldn't have the fear. You should know that it's going to happen regardless. So it's part of the process.
Absolutely. And when you know it, you relax yourself, right? Rather than trying to fight it, because whatever you fight and resist persists. Beautiful.
That's right.
Have you got any more questions left?
I think I've got one last one. I think, what's holding us back? What's holding me back was the question, rather. What is holding me back? And I think that's a vague question. And we might have like several parts to this. What's holding me back in my personal life? What's holding me back in my professional life? What's holding me back in my development? It could be endless. You want to take that one?
I would love to, because I love this question.
I know you do.
I love it because I have such a good understanding of this. And in the past, obviously, it was frustrating for me. It took me way off my balanced life because I could feel that something was holding me back and I didn't understand it. And it was very frustrating moment, to the point that I didn't know what I was missing. What was I doing wrong? I was, educating myself so well. I did everything that I learned how to and believed that it should work, and it didn't. And something was holding me back. So it was very annoying at that time. Right now, I know what is really holding anyone back is only one answer, is the paradigm. Nothing else, guys. And the paradigm, we all have a paradigm, okay? And I don't want you to think about that paradigm as something vicious. It's not. It's actually designed there for you to help you, because a paradigm, as you may remember, is a multitude of your habits, multitude of your beliefs, and also your self-image. Multitudes. It's not one nor two, it's a lot of them, right? Some of them are very good. Some of the habits you have are very good. Some are non-productive. Some of your beliefs are very good. Some of them are limiting. And the same with self-image. Some of your self-image, part of your self-image is very good, and some is not. Like, I remember part of my self-image for my entire life was that I was always courageous, and I saw myself very confident. And only because when I was meeting new people, I never shied away, and I was always, meeting and greeting them with confidence, and that made me believe that I'm confident, period. However, what I then understood, that I was confident in one area of my life, but then I didn't understand that I lacked confidence in my sales job, for example, because that has then unfolded a lot of limiting beliefs and habits that I wasn't aware of, like the fear from rejection. I was paralyzed by this. I didn't understand it, and I was paralyzed. So I let this control me, because if we don't understand something, it controls us. So now I know that the paradigm is there to help us, because whatever you learn new, you take time, you put a lot of effort to learn a new skill, right? Just like driving a car is my favorite example, because you can relate to it. Most people have a driving license. As you may remember, as a new activity, you had to spend a lot of effort thinking how to drive a car, observe your mirrors, look at the sign roads, look at other cars, change gears. It was a lot. I remember myself, I was thinking, how am I supposed to control it? How am I supposed to know what I'm doing? What happens if you do it often enough? If you drive for X amount of years, you do it on autopilot. You don't think about it anymore. So it becomes a habit. When it becomes a habit, it means you can focus on something else because you do it on autopilot. So there is a paradigm that is designed to help your life, because once you're on autopilot, you just do it without further thinking. The problem is if we have many limiting beliefs in our life that literally controls us and we're not aware of it, they also are as a part of our paradigm that sabotage our success, because by running on autopilot, if I have that autopilot rejection fear, if I have that procrastination on autopilot as well, that's also a habit that runs my life and sabotage my success. So I really have to become aware of which are good, which aren't. Good, we leave it, and the non-good, non-productive, we become aware of it, and then we can change it, we can shift it. How do we do it? There is a process. There is a process, something we shared with you this week, and something that we focus a lot in our mentorship program, Thinking into Results, over 6 months. So it's like every single habit, you first of all become aware of it. Once again, guys, you can't change something you're not aware of. So first of all, you become aware of it. You say to yourself, this is where I lack, for example, confidence. This is where the fear from rejection comes in. You're aware of it. Then you decide to change it. So you say to yourself, I am confident now, picking up the phone, knowing that on the other side of this phone call is a person who really wants what I have. And first of all, in order to understand it, I have to be interested in the person. So basically, you go through our 6 steps of sales presentation, right? So you practice it. You change your paradigm by choosing, deciding, and practicing it. When you practice something for 30 days consecutively, it becomes your new habit. It goes on autopilot, which means you don't have to think about it ever again, and you can take care of another thing. The problem here is that many people, first of all, don't understand. Second of all, change is never easy. It requires commitment. It requires clarity on what you're doing and understanding. That's why you can do it yourself, but you have to be self-disciplined. You have to be very committed, and you can do it yourself. But if you find yourself you're not doing it properly, just like myself over 6-7 years ago, you then literally need a mentor. You need a mentor and a coach, because a mentor and a coach is your shortcut to success. Just like we said before, you can try to do it yourself, but if 3 months down the line nothing is changing, this is it, guys. This is a sign that you're sabotaging your success. So ask for help. There's nothing wrong asking for help. Invest in yourself, because that investment in yourself, letting someone else to help you, to hold you accountable, to clear loads of things for you, to explain topic like we are explaining right now, what's holding you, and can pinpoint the certain habits just by speaking with you. That's how I know what is holding my clients back. I just ask questions and I can hear the paradigms. And I say to them, this is your paradigm, right? So we work on it and we change it. You then, when you work with someone for 3 months, 4, 5, 6 months, you then change and shift your paradigms. Once your paradigms, which is habits, belief system, and your self-image shifts, your results reflect that shift. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. And you know, the crude answer is what's holding you back or us back, and it's ourselves.
Yeah.
Basically.
One word. Absolutely. One word. You see, you've got one word from Nick. You've got 5-minute explanation from me.
No, but you know, the details of it is
Yes.
quite crucial. But when you put all of this together, in fairness, when you put all this together, what's holding me back is me.
Yes,
Nobody
absolutely.
else.
And then there it is. Either you believe it or you live in denial, saying it's not me, it's the economy, it's my employer, it's everybody else. This is the denial. Excellent. I think we've got the last question.
Yep.
So stay with us a couple more minutes, please, guys. So the last question is, I want to jump to my goal, but at the same time, not lose the solid ground on which I am currently standing. It's a very interesting question. This question might be something that holds many of you back. And I would say that here, to me, there is obviously the need, the desire, and there is a paradigm. The desire is to jump to my goal. You have the desire to do it. You really want to do it, but then there is the paradigm that you need to be safe. right? It's better to be safe than sorry. And I would say it's contradicting. You want to do something, but then you want to be in a safety zone. So you have to make a decision. Which one do you want? Do you want to be in a comfort zone, in a safety zone, or do you want to succeed? Because to me, you can't do both. You can do both better in the future when you go through this jump and you experience this uncomfort and you become comfortable feeling uncomfortable. That's when you do both, because you know that your ground is literally still there. It's thin, but you understand what's happening because you have practiced it so long that you know that you're uncomfortable, but you know it's a part of your growth. But at the beginning, yes?
Sorry, could you repeat that question again? I think the last part I didn't quite grasp, and I was trying to figure out the last bit of that question. Is it to do with solid ground? What was that? The last?
Yes. So I want to jump to my goal,
Yeah.
but at the same time not lose the solid ground on which I am currently standing.
Sorry, carry on. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to, because I was thinking about something whilst you were talking, and I was thinking, well, I didn't capture that. Lose solid ground. Yes, okay.
That's fine. So the solid ground is literally the safety net, the comfort zone. This is something that we feel so good at. This is something that it stops so many people from going after what they truly desire. It's the same where in our workshop we explained fear. We want to do something, we're about to jump, but then that it's better to be safe than sorry pulls us back, because safe is good. It feels good. Safe is not good. Safe is dangerous to me. But to a person who doesn't understand what's going on, safe, it feels good. But that's a dangerous place to be, because if you are in your comfort zone, in your safety net, you're not growing. That's it, guys. I'm not going to say anymore because it's quite simple. You either jump and you experience growth, but also you lose a bit of ground underneath, but you go and keep going with faith. Faith is understanding, or you stay in your safety and comfort zone and nothing happens.
Yeah, right. In that question, I think there's the answer in that question already. It's a description of a paradigm, isn't it? I want to jump, and I want to keep my feet on the ground. You can't do both. You can't fly and dive at the same time. You either fly the cause and effect approach, the law. It's by law. So it's either you make a decision to fly or you make a decision to fall, whichever one it is. So you've got to make that decision, and that decision doesn't rest with anybody else other than yourself, right?
Absolutely. Beautiful.
You stay stagnant, or you either fly or you either fall. Which one is it? I mean, it's cause and effect, like I said, and I think that's the law, and we operate on laws, and that's what we take from it.
Absolutely beautiful. So these are all the questions we have received in the past week. If you do have, well, we have literally last couple of minutes left, but if you do have any questions for this session, please jump on YouTube if you are watching, because I think there is a function to ask a question, and you can still ask a question in the next couple of minutes if you do. If you don't, we just wanted to really thank you guys for being here with us today. Thank you so much for all your questions, and we do truly believe that these answers have helped you, because like I said before, we're here to serve you, support you, and uplift you on this journey towards your goal. However, you have to be open-minded to what we teach you, and you have to be committed to apply this information into your day-to-day basis, because if you don't, you're basically going to go back after these sessions into your daily routine, and your paradigm will take over because it will tell you why you cannot. And I love the quote that says that without definite goal, we become strangely loyal to that daily trivia, and we then become enslaved by it. Without clearly defined goal, we become strangely loyal to our daily trivia, and then we become enslaved by it. This is so powerful. Literally gives me goosebumps. And I know that if I keep doing same old same for a month, I know I'm already stagnating. So I need to keep going and shake it up a little bit and feel uncomfortable a little bit. All right. So once again, thank you so much, guys. Before you go, we just want to remind you we have one more live session today in a couple of hours. So at 3 p.m., we're going to go live, and I'll give you an introduction and a bit more details about Thinking into Results mentorship program. Once again, you have a link to click and join our Thinking into Results family if this information resonates with you. If your intuition says yes, go for it, because that's the only way to explore that growth. Everything we talked about, if you feel that I want this, I want to be feeling like this, I want to know this, I want to become it, you have to jump. You have to jump, guys. You have to invest in yourself, because if you don't, you're just going to create more of the same. And I was never a fan of being, spending money on stuff, perhaps being in debt or whatever. But I know if you invest in yourself and you never look at the price tag, you just look at the return on that investment. So the return on that investment is huge. I can't even describe it to you. It's priceless to me. It brought me so much freedom in so many ways that to me, it's priceless. And this is exactly what I hear from my clients. They even say to me, I would have paid double if I knew what this has brought into my life and my family's life. So really take that decision based on the return on that investment. If your heart says yes, you got to jump. And hopefully see you with us in our TR family. So 3 p.m. more announcement about this, and also at 3 p.m. I'm going to announce, because Nick will not be with us today, but I'm going to announce that one lucky person who has been with us for at least 3 days of our workshop, and we will give a name who's going to be lucky to be working with Nick for a month. Thank you so much for watching.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'm really sorry. So listen, thank you very much. Thank you, Alex, for giving me the opportunity to be part of the workshop throughout the week. I thoroughly enjoyed being with you guys. You've engaged with both of us, and I sincerely hope that the information that I have contributed has resonated and has actually triggered something in your head that says, you know what, I need to have someone to look after my personal development. And if that's the case, then take the leap. Okay, so I'm not going to see you at 3 o'clock. This is me now. So thank you very much, and it's been a real pleasure to be with you throughout the week. Thank you very much.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, guys, and have a beautiful day. And I'll see you in a couple of hours.
Bye bye.